Good morning, everyone. We've all heard the saying, sharing is caring, and yes, there's so much beauty and connection in opening up and letting others into our world. But in our quest for authenticity and vulnerability, we often forget that not everything is meant to be shared with everyone. Vulnerability is powerful, but it's also deeply personal. It requires boundaries, discernment, and self-awareness. Today, I want to talk about 5 things you should never share with just anyone and how this connects to building healthy relationships, protecting your emotional energy, and preserving your sense of self-worth. Your deepest insecurities are the tender places within you, the parts of yourself you often keep hidden, even from those closest to you. These insecurities might be related to your body, your worth, your abilities, or even your relationships. They form the core of the stories you tell yourself when you feel vulnerable, and they're often rooted in shame, comparison, or the fear of rejection. Brené Brown's work on vulnerability reminds us that while it's powerful to open up and share our true selves, we must do so wisely, particularly when it comes to these deeply personal aspects of our identity. There is a deep urge within many of us to reveal our insecurities as a way of being truly known. We crave authenticity in our relationships and often believe that by sharing everything, we will achieve deeper connections. But not all relationships are created equal, and not everyone has the capacity to hold our most fragile parts with care. There's an inherent risk in sharing, especially when it comes to insecurities that are still raw and unhealed. This is where the concept of trust becomes so vital. Brene emphasizes that vulnerability without trust is risky, sometimes even dangerous. In our relationships, we sometimes feel pressure to overexpose ourselves in the name of connection. We might assume that being vulnerable means laying everything bare, including our deepest insecurities. But vulnerability, as Brene puts it, isn't about recklessness. It's about intentionality. When we share our insecurities with someone who hasn't earned that level of trust, we leave ourselves exposed to potential judgment, misunderstanding, or even betrayal. This can be incredibly damaging, not just to the relationship, but to our sense of self-worth. Our insecurities are often tied to shame, and shame thrives in secrecy and silence. The paradox here is that while we need to bring our shame into the light to heal it, not every person is capable of holding that light for us. Brene often speaks about the importance of having people in our lives who have earned the right to hear our stories. These are the people who have shown over time that they can handle our vulnerabilities with empathy, understanding, and compassion. They are the ones who don't try to fix us or dismiss our feelings, but who sit with us in our discomfort and let us know that we are not alone. But what happens when we share too soon or with the wrong person? It can reinforce the very insecurities we were hoping to overcome. Imagine sharing a deeply held insecurity about your worthiness at work, perhaps a fear that you're not good enough, or that you don't deserve the success you've achieved with a colleague or friend who doesn't have the emotional capacity to respond with empathy. They might brush off your concern, offer unsolicited advice, or worse, use your vulnerability against you in the future. This kind of response can deepen your shame and make you retreat even further into yourself, reinforcing the narrative that you're not enough. It's not just about finding people who will listen, it's about finding people who can respond with care. One of the most damaging experiences is when we share our insecurities and are met with indifference or judgment. When someone minimizes your pain or tells you that you're overreacting, it can feel like a direct attack on your emotional world. This kind of dismissal can make you question whether your feelings are valid and push you further into self-doubt. That's why discernment in sharing is crucial. Vulnerability is a precious gift, and not everyone deserves to receive it. Another risk of sharing your deepest insecurities with the wrong person is that it can create an unhealthy dynamic in the relationship. If the other person doesn't know how to handle your vulnerability, they may become uncomfortable or even resentful. They might feel burdened by your emotional openness or unsure of how to respond, which can strain the relationship and leave you feeling even more isolated. Alternatively, some people might use your insecurities to manipulate or control you, exploiting your openness for their gain. This doesn't mean you should never share your insecurities. In fact, one of the most beautiful aspects of vulnerability is that when shared with the right person, it can lead to deeper intimacy and trust. Sharing your insecurities with someone who has proven to be a safe, supportive presence in your life can help to lessen the shame you carry. When someone responds to your vulnerability with compassion, it challenges the narrative that you're unworthy or unlovable. It can be profoundly healing to have someone say, in essence, I see your fears and I'm still here. You're still enough. It's also important to remember that not all insecurities need to be shared at all. Sometimes our deepest fears and doubts are things we need to work through on our own or with the help of a therapist or a close confidant. Not every insecurity needs to be brought into the light of public discourse or shared widely among friends or family. Part of self-care is knowing when to keep something private, when to sit with it and reflect on its meaning for you. This doesn't mean burying or denying your insecurities, but rather choosing when and with whom to share them thoughtfully. Brené's research reminds us that vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage. It takes immense strength to acknowledge our insecurities and to bring them into our relationships. But it also takes wisdom to know when to share them and when to hold them close. Being selective about who we share with isn't about being closed off or inauthentic, it's about self-respect and emotional protection. We all have a right to safeguard our inner world, to build boundaries that keep us safe without isolating us from connection. At the heart of it, sharing your deepest insecurities is an act of trust, both in yourself and in the person you're sharing with. It's an acknowledgement that while we are all imperfect, we are also deserving of love and acceptance. But not everyone is ready to handle the responsibility that comes with knowing someone's innermost fears. The key is to find those people who are and to cherish those relationships for the profound gift they are. In the end, vulnerability is about connection, and connection is built on trust. Sharing your deepest insecurities is not something to take lightly, but when done with the right people, it can transform your relationships and help you grow into a more authentic version of yourself. Unprocessed emotions are a natural part of being human. We all experience emotions, anger, sadness, joy, fear throughout our lives. They come in waves, often triggered by external circumstances or internal thoughts, and they shape how we respond to the world. However, when we fail to process these emotions properly, they can build up, fester, and affect us in ways that are both subtle and profound. Brené Brown often speaks about how emotions, especially difficult ones, need to be acknowledged, understood, and given space to exist before we can share them authentically. Without taking the time to process emotions, sharing them can lead to unintended consequences. Unprocessed emotions are raw and untamed, often surfacing in the heat of the moment when we are least prepared to handle them effectively. Think about a time when you were upset about something, a slight from a friend, a conflict at work, or even a disappointment in your personal life. Before you had the chance to fully reflect on what happened, you might have impulsively expressed your frustration or sadness to someone else, hoping to get relief from the emotion or validation for your feelings. While it can feel like a release in the short term, rushing to share unprocessed emotions without first understanding them can lead to confusion, miscommunication, and sometimes regret. When we share unprocessed emotions, we're often not clear on what we're actually feeling. Anger might mask hurt, or frustration could be covering up fear. Emotions are layered and complex, and without taking time to sit with them, we risk expressing only the surface level reaction rather than the deeper truth beneath it. For example, lashing out at a friend in anger may stem from feeling abandoned or rejected, but if we haven't processed those underlying feelings, we end up only communicating the anger. This can lead to misunderstandings, where the person we're sharing with doesn't fully grasp the depth of what we're experiencing and responds in ways that don't address the root cause. One of the reasons we struggle to process emotions before sharing them is because it's uncomfortable to sit with difficult feelings. It's far easier to vent to a friend, post something on social media, or express our frustration in the moment than it is to spend time reflecting on why we feel the way we do. However, Brené Brown reminds us that discomfort is a part of the emotional process. We can't selectively numb our emotions. If we try to avoid pain or discomfort by offloading our emotions prematurely, we also block ourselves from fully experiencing joy, love, and connection. Taking time to process emotions allows us to gain clarity. When an emotion first arises, especially a strong one like anger or sadness, it can feel overwhelming. Our initial reaction might be to express it immediately in an attempt to offload the intensity. But the first emotion we feel is not always the most accurate reflection of the situation. Processing emotions means allowing ourselves to feel them fully, without rushing to judgment or action. It means sitting in the discomfort, asking ourselves what we're really feeling, and giving ourselves time to understand where those feelings are coming from. Is this anger really about the current situation, or is it tapping into a deeper wound from the past? Is this sadness about this specific event, or is it connected to a broader feeling of loneliness or loss? Brene often talks about the difference between reacting and responding. When we react, we do so impulsively, driven by unprocessed emotions. We say things we don't mean, act in ways we later regret, and often make situations worse rather than better. Responding, on the other hand, requires mindfulness and reflection. It involves processing our emotions first so that when we do share them, we're coming from a place of clarity and self-awareness. By doing this, we can communicate our feelings in a way that fosters connection rather than conflict. Another risk of sharing unprocessed emotions is that it can place an unfair burden on the person we're sharing with. Emotions, especially intense ones like anger or despair, can be overwhelming not just for the person experiencing them, but also for the person receiving them. When we haven't taken the time to process our own emotions, we might expect others to help us make sense of them, which can create a dynamic where the other person feels responsible for fixing or managing our emotional state. This can strain relationships as the person on the receiving end may feel overwhelmed or unsure of how to help. Additionally, they may not fully understand the context of our emotions if we ourselves haven't fully processed them. Sharing unprocessed emotions can also lead to regret. In the heat of the moment, we may say things that we don't truly mean or that don't fully represent how we feel. We might exaggerate, lash out, or blame others when the real issue lies within us. Once we've had time to cool down and reflect, we often realize that what we expressed wasn't accurate or fair. By then, the damage may already be done, words can't be taken back, and relationships can be harmed by things said in the throes of unprocessed emotions. Processing emotions before sharing them gives us the chance to ensure that what we're expressing is true to how we actually feel, and it allows us to communicate in a way that builds understanding rather than creating division. Processing emotions is not about denying or suppressing them. In fact, Brené Brown teaches that trying to bottle up emotions or avoid them only makes things worse. Emotions that aren't processed don't just go away, they linger beneath the surface, influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and interactions. Unprocessed emotions can manifest as stress, anxiety, or even physical symptoms. They can also leak out in subtle ways, affecting our tone of voice, body language, or the way we treat others. By taking the time to process our emotions, we allow ourselves to fully experience them, learn from them, and release them in a healthy way. There are many ways to process emotions. For some, it might involve journaling, where they can explore their feelings in a private, non-judgmental space. For others, it might mean talking to a trusted friend or therapist who can offer guidance and support without trying to fix the problem. Sometimes it's simply a matter of giving yourself time, letting the initial wave of emotion pass so that you can see things more clearly. Whatever the method, the key is to engage with your emotions mindfully rather than rushing to share them prematurely. When we process our emotions, we empower ourselves to share them in ways that foster connection and understanding. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can communicate our feelings with clarity and intention. We can explain not just what we're feeling, but why we're feeling it and what we need from others in response. This kind of emotional intelligence strengthens our relationships and helps us build deeper, more authentic connections with the people around us. In conclusion, unprocessed emotions are a natural part of life, but sharing them prematurely can lead to misunderstanding, conflict, and regret. By taking the time to process our emotions, we gain clarity, self-awareness, and the ability to communicate more effectively. Processing emotions doesn't mean avoiding them, it means fully engaging with them so that we can express ourselves in ways that are true to our experience and conducive to building stronger, healthier relationships. Trust is one of the most valuable currencies in human relationships. When someone confides in us, shares their innermost thoughts, fears, or vulnerabilities, they are offering us something precious, their trust. In these moments, we become the guardians of their stories, and with that privilege comes great responsibility. One of the most profound lessons we can learn from Brené Brown's work is the importance of boundaries and integrity when it comes to handling the trust others place in us. At the heart of this trust lies a simple but powerful rule: we should never share other people's secrets. When someone shares a secret with us, they are making a choice to be vulnerable. Vulnerability, as Brene teaches, is about taking a risk, opening ourselves up, knowing there is the potential for rejection or betrayal. For the person sharing the secret, it's an act of courage. They're trusting us not just with information, but with a part of their emotional world. In return, it's our responsibility to honor that trust and keep their secret safe. Yet, for many people, the temptation to share what we know, especially if it feels significant or dramatic, can be strong. This is where we must practice self-discipline and respect. Sharing someone else's secret can cause profound harm, not just to the person whose trust we've broken, but also to the relationship itself. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it can be incredibly difficult to repair. When we reveal someone else's secrets, we are violating the unspoken contract that exists between confidants, even if the secret seems insignificant or if we rationalize that sharing it won't hurt anyone. The reality is that the breach of trust can have long-lasting effects on how the person views us and how they engage in relationships moving forward. One of the reasons people are often tempted to share other people's secrets is because doing so can feel like a way of bonding with others. We've all experienced situations where we want to be part of a conversation or feel closer to someone, and sharing a piece of juicy information seems like a way to connect. But this kind of connection is based on shaky ground. Brené Brown emphasizes that true connection is built on authenticity and trust, not on sharing information that isn't ours to give away. When we share someone else's secret to bond with another person, we're not building a relationship on honesty or integrity, we're building it on the foundation of betrayal. It's important to remember that when someone shares a secret with us, they are often in a vulnerable state. They may be sharing something that is difficult for them to talk about or that carries a great deal of emotional weight. Whether it's a personal fear, a mistake they've made, or a piece of private information about their lives, they've chosen us as a safe space for that information. By turning around and sharing that secret with someone else, we're taking advantage of their vulnerability. We're exploiting their trust for our gain, whether that gain is attention, validation, or simply the satisfaction of being in the know. Moreover, sharing someone else's secret can have unintended ripple effects. We might think we're only sharing it with one person, someone we trust not to pass it on, but the reality is that once a secret is out, it's no longer in our control. The person we confide in might share it with someone else, and that person might share it further still. What started as a private piece of information between two people can quickly become public knowledge, and the consequences for the person whose secret it is can be devastating. They may feel exposed, betrayed, and deeply hurt, especially if the information is sensitive or personal. Brené Brown often speaks about the importance of boundaries in relationships. Keeping someone's secret is a boundary that we set for ourselves and for others. It's a way of saying, this information is not mine to share. By respecting that boundary, we show that we can be trusted, that we understand the value of privacy and confidentiality. On the other hand, when we cross that boundary and share someone else's secret, we're demonstrating a lack of respect for both the person and the relationship. Another critical aspect of keeping other people's secrets is recognizing the difference between supporting someone and enabling harmful behavior. Sometimes, people confide in us about things that are troubling or damaging, whether it's a destructive relationship, an unhealthy habit, or a harmful situation. In these cases, we may feel conflicted about keeping their secret because we want to help them, or because we believe that sharing the information could lead to a positive outcome. However, even in these situations, it's essential to approach the issue with care. Instead of breaking their trust by sharing the secret with someone else, we can encourage the person to seek help, offer support, or be there for them as they work through the situation. In extreme cases, such as when someone's safety is at risk, we may need to seek professional advice on how to handle the situation while still respecting their privacy as much as possible. We must also recognize that some secrets are not ours to hold indefinitely. For example, if someone confides in us about something that could cause serious harm to themselves or others, we have a moral responsibility to take action. However, even in these situations, we should approach the matter with care, compassion, and respect for the person's autonomy. It's one thing to betray someone's trust for selfish reasons, and another to act out of genuine concern for their well-being. In these cases, we must tread carefully, finding ways to address the issue while maintaining as much of their trust and dignity as possible. In day-to-day life, though, the secrets people share with us are usually not life-threatening. More often, they are personal confessions, private struggles, or deeply held fears. It's in these moments that we must be particularly mindful of how we handle the trust that's been placed in us. Just as we wouldn't want our most intimate secret shared without our consent, we owe it to others to protect their privacy. Brené's work reminds us that empathy, connection, and trust are the cornerstones of meaningful relationships. When someone trusts us with a secret, it's an opportunity for us to show them that we value those cornerstones and that we are capable of holding their vulnerability with care. Sharing someone else's secret is not just an act of betrayal, it's an erosion of trust that can take years to rebuild, if it's ever rebuilt at all. People are far more likely to shut down emotionally, to stop sharing parts of themselves when they've experienced betrayal. In this way, breaking someone's trust has a far-reaching impact, affecting not only the immediate relationship, but potentially all of that person's future relationships. Once trust is broken, it can make people more guarded, more reluctant to be vulnerable again, and this impacts their ability to connect authentically with others. We must remember that trust is something earned, and it can be lost in an instant. When we hold someone's secret, we are acting as stewards of their trust, and it is our duty to treat it with the utmost care. The next time we are tempted to share something that isn't ours, we should pause and ask ourselves, what purpose does this serve? Is this my story to tell? How would I feel if the roles were reversed? By honoring other people's secrets, we are not only respecting their boundaries, but we are also reinforcing the bonds of trust that make relationships strong, resilient, and truly meaningful. In the end, keeping someone's secret is not just about them, it's about who we are and the kind of relationships we want to build. Sharing your long-term dreams with others can be a deeply personal and vulnerable act. It's like opening a window into your soul, allowing someone to see the vision you have for your future, the goals you've nurtured for years, and the passions that drive you. Your dreams represent hope, ambition, and the core of who you are. When you share them with others, especially with untrustworthy people, you are placing something delicate and important in their hands. In doing so, you open yourself up to both connection and potential harm. Dreams are fragile in their early stages. They are often born out of a mix of passion, inspiration, and aspiration, but they also come with uncertainty, fear of failure, and self-doubt. Sharing your dreams with someone untrustworthy can feel like giving them access to your vulnerabilities. Untrustworthy people might not have your best interests at heart, and when they hear about your dreams, they could use that knowledge against you, intentionally or not. Instead of supporting you, they might mock, criticize, or undermine your vision, casting doubt on your abilities or the feasibility of your goals. Brené Brown's work on vulnerability and trust reminds us that sharing our true selves, including our dreams, requires courage. It's a leap of faith, but it should also be a discerning one. Not everyone deserves to hear about your dreams. Some people haven't earned the right to that level of intimacy and vulnerability in your life. They may lack the empathy, support, or understanding needed to hold space for your aspirations. Instead of lifting you up, they might tear you down, either because they are envious of your ambition, insecure about their own lack of direction, or simply uninterested in your success. One of the dangers of sharing your long-term dreams with untrustworthy people is the potential for discouragement. Untrustworthy people often respond to others' dreams with skepticism or negativity, dismissing your aspirations as unrealistic or unattainable. They may offer unsolicited advice, pointing out all the reasons why your dream won't work or why you're not capable of achieving it. While constructive criticism can be valuable when it comes from a place of care and thoughtfulness, untrustworthy people often offer criticism as a way to diminish you rather than to help you grow. Their words can plant seeds of doubt in your mind, causing you to second-guess yourself and your abilities. This kind of discouragement can be especially harmful when your dream is still in its formative stages. Before a dream can become a reality, it needs to be nurtured, protected, and developed. It requires time, patience, and often a great deal of internal fortitude to push through the obstacles and challenges that will inevitably arise. Sharing your dream with someone who responds with negativity can derail this process, making it harder for you to stay motivated and focused. You might start to internalize their doubts, thinking maybe they're right, maybe I can't do this. This kind of self-doubt can lead to inaction, procrastination, or even abandonment of your dream altogether. Another risk of sharing your dreams with untrustworthy people is the possibility of betrayal. Dreams are personal, and when we share them with someone, we're trusting them to keep that information private. However, untrustworthy people might use your dreams for their gain or share them with others without your permission. This could range from casual gossip to outright sabotage. In competitive environments, for example, someone might steal your ideas or try to undermine your efforts in pursuit of their interests. Betrayal, in this sense, doesn't always have to be malicious. It can simply stem from a lack of respect for your boundaries or a disregard for the importance of what you've shared. Even if they don't betray your trust outright, untrustworthy people can drain your emotional energy. Pursuing a long-term dream requires resilience and mental strength. Surrounding yourself with people who don't support you, or worse, actively bring negativity into your life, can sap the energy you need to stay focused and determined. When you share your dreams with someone who constantly downplays your ambitions or dismisses your efforts, it can feel like you're carrying the weight of not only your dream, but also their doubts and negativity. Over time, this emotional burden can wear you down, making it harder to stay committed to your goals. Brené Brown often speaks about the importance of boundaries and recognizing who has earned the right to hear our stories. Dreams, like personal stories, should only be shared with people who have proven themselves to be trustworthy and supportive. Trustworthy people offer encouragement, challenge you in healthy and productive ways, and help you stay grounded while still believing in your potential. They provide a safe space for you to express your fears and insecurities without judgment, and they celebrate your successes without envy. These are the people who will help you stay motivated during the difficult times and who will cheer you on when you achieve milestones. When you share your dreams with untrustworthy people, you might also expose yourself to unnecessary competition or rivalry. In some cases, individuals may hear your dreams and feel threatened by your ambition. Instead of being happy for you or supporting your vision, they might see your success as a reflection of their inadequacies. This can lead to passive-aggressive behavior, subtle sabotage, or even outright attempts to block your progress. In workplaces, creative fields, or industries where competition is fierce, sharing your dreams with the wrong people can put you at risk of someone else trying to undermine your work, take credit for your ideas, or manipulate situations to their advantage. Additionally, sharing your dreams with untrustworthy people can erode your self-confidence. Dreams are deeply personal, and they often require a great deal of self-belief to pursue. If the people you confide in are constantly doubting you, dismissing your aspirations, or pointing out the risks and potential failures, it can chip away at your confidence over time. You might find yourself internalizing their negativity, even if you don't want to. Instead of feeling excited and motivated by your vision for the future, you might start to feel anxious, fearful, or uncertain about whether you're capable of achieving your goals. This kind of erosion of confidence can be one of the most damaging consequences of sharing your dreams with the wrong people. It's important to recognize that not everyone in your life needs to know about your long-term dreams. Brené Brown talks about the value of discernment in relationships, knowing who to trust and who to keep at a distance when it comes to sharing your vulnerabilities. Just because someone is in your life, whether as a friend, family member, or colleague, doesn't mean they've earned the right to hear your dreams. It's okay to be selective about who you share your aspirations with. In fact, being selective can protect you from the risks of discouragement, betrayal, and emotional drain. One way to approach this is by sharing your dreams with a small circle of people who have consistently shown themselves to be supportive, trustworthy, and encouraging. These are the people who genuinely want to see you succeed, who will offer constructive feedback when necessary, and who will stand by you during the inevitable ups and downs of pursuing a long-term goal. By keeping your dreams within this trusted circle, you create a safe space for your aspirations to grow and develop without the interference of negativity or betrayal. It's also important to remember that you don't need external validation for your dreams. Your vision for your future is yours alone, and you are the best judge of whether it's worth pursuing. While it's natural to seek encouragement and support from others, you should never let someone else's doubts or negativity dictate the course of your dreams. If someone can't support you or offer helpful feedback, then they aren't the right person to confide in. In the end, your long-term dreams are a reflection of your deepest desires, passions, and aspirations. They deserve to be protected and nurtured, and that starts with being mindful about who you share them with. By recognizing the risks of sharing your dreams with untrustworthy people, you can better safeguard your emotional well-being and focus on building a future that aligns with your vision. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who respect your journey, and who will walk alongside you as you pursue your dreams. These are the people who will help you grow, thrive, and ultimately achieve the future you've envisioned for yourself. Every failure and mistake is an integral part of the human experience, often serving as a powerful catalyst for growth and self-discovery. While the initial sting of failure can be painful, it's essential to understand that these experiences are not just setbacks, they can also be invaluable learning opportunities. Brené Brown's work emphasizes the importance of vulnerability, courage, and resilience, encouraging us to embrace our imperfections and the lessons they bring. By shifting our perspective on failure and mistakes, we can cultivate a mindset that sees these moments as essential stepping stones on the path to success. At the heart of the human experience lies a fundamental truth: no one is perfect, and everyone makes mistakes. Whether in our personal lives, professional endeavors, or creative pursuits, we all encounter obstacles and failures at various points in our journey. These moments often feel like profound disappointments, leading us to question our abilities, choices, and worth. However, it is crucial to recognize that failure is not a reflection of our character or potential. It is merely an event or outcome that did not align with our expectations. By separating our identity from our mistakes, we can approach failures with a more constructive mindset. One of the first steps to embracing failure is understanding that it is a universal experience. No one is immune to setbacks, regardless of their level of success or expertise. In fact, some of the most successful individuals have experienced numerous failures throughout their lives. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work," illustrating the notion that each failure brings us closer to success. This perspective reframes failure from a source of shame to a necessary part of the journey, one that equips us with the knowledge and experience needed to improve and evolve. Mistakes, on the other hand, often serve as the starting point for our learning and growth. When we make a mistake, we gain insights into what went wrong, why it happened, and how we can avoid similar pitfalls in the future. This process of reflection and analysis is essential for personal development. Brené Brown emphasizes the importance of vulnerability in this context, urging us to confront our mistakes with honesty and openness. By doing so, we allow ourselves to engage in a more profound dialogue with our experiences, recognizing the lessons they hold, rather than merely focusing on the disappointment of the outcome. It's essential to adopt a growth mindset when navigating failures and mistakes. This mindset, a concept developed by psychologist Carol Dweck, encourages us to view challenges as opportunities for learning rather than insurmountable obstacles. When we approach our failures with a growth mindset, we open ourselves up to exploration and experimentation. Instead of seeing a failed attempt as definitive proof of our inadequacy, we recognize it as a stepping stone to greater understanding and improvement. Embracing this mindset can transform our relationship with failure, fostering resilience and adaptability as we navigate the complexities of life. The emotional impact of failure and mistakes can be profound. It's natural to feel disappointed, frustrated, or even ashamed when things don't go as planned. However, it's crucial to allow ourselves to feel these emotions without judgment. Brené Brown emphasizes the importance of acknowledging our feelings and embracing vulnerability. By allowing ourselves to experience disappointment, we can process our emotions more fully and develop a healthier relationship with our failures. This emotional honesty fosters resilience, helping us bounce back from setbacks with renewed determination and clarity. Failure and mistakes can also deepen our connections with others. When we share our experiences of failure, we invite vulnerability into our relationships. This openness can create a sense of camaraderie and understanding, reminding us that we are not alone in our struggles. Brené Brown often speaks about the power of connection and the importance of building communities where individuals feel safe to share their imperfections. By discussing our failures and mistakes, we not only release some of the burden of shame, but also create opportunities for others to share their stories. This exchange fosters empathy, compassion, and support, which are crucial elements in our journey toward growth and healing. Moreover, failure can ignite innovation and creativity. In many cases, the fear of failure stifles our willingness to take risks or pursue new ideas. However, when we reframe failure as a learning opportunity, we empower ourselves to explore uncharted territory. Some of the most groundbreaking inventions and ideas have emerged from a series of failures and experiments. For instance, the invention of the Post-it note was a result of a failed adhesive that didn't stick as intended, leading to a creative solution that transformed the way we organize our thoughts. This example serves as a reminder that our failures can lead to unexpected discoveries and innovative breakthroughs when we approach them with curiosity and an open mind. Furthermore, embracing failure can cultivate resilience, a critical trait that allows us to navigate life's challenges with strength and grace. Resilience is built through the process of overcoming adversity, learning from our experiences, and adapting to change. When we encounter failure, we have the opportunity to develop this resilience by facing our setbacks head-on, extracting valuable lessons, and applying them to future endeavors. Brené Brown highlights the importance of resilience in her work, emphasizing that it is not about avoiding failure, but rather learning how to rise from it. By cultivating resilience, we enhance our capacity to handle future challenges, ultimately empowering ourselves to pursue our goals with renewed confidence. The lessons learned from failure and mistakes extend far beyond the immediate situation. They can shape our character, influence our decision-making, and guide our future actions. Each experience of failure serves as a reminder that growth often requires discomfort and struggle. Instead of shying away from difficult moments, we can lean into them, recognizing that they are part of the journey toward becoming the best version of ourselves. By reflecting on our failures and mistakes, we can identify patterns, recognize our triggers, and develop strategies for success moving forward. Another essential aspect of navigating failure is the importance of self-compassion. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism after a setback, berating ourselves for our mistakes or doubting our abilities. However, practicing self-compassion allows us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer to a friend in a similar situation. Brené Brown emphasizes that self-compassion is not a sign of weakness, rather, it is a powerful tool for building resilience and promoting emotional well-being. By extending grace to ourselves in the face of failure, we can foster a healthier relationship with our mistakes and cultivate the courage to keep moving forward. Moreover, understanding that failure is not the end of the journey is crucial. While it can feel like a definitive setback, failure often serves as a turning point, prompting us to reassess our goals, values, and priorities. When faced with failure, we may discover new passions, reassess our motivations, or develop alternative paths to success. This process of reflection can lead to deeper insights about ourselves and our aspirations, guiding us toward a more authentic and fulfilling life. By recognizing that failure is merely a detour rather than a dead end, we can approach our goals with renewed clarity and purpose. In conclusion, every failure and mistake carries the potential for growth, learning, and self-discovery. By embracing vulnerability, adopting a growth mindset, and practicing self-compassion, we can navigate the challenges of failure with resilience and grace. Rather than viewing failures as personal shortcomings, we can see them as essential components of our journey, guiding us toward greater understanding and success. Through connection and openness, we can share our experiences of failure with others, fostering empathy and support in our relationships. Ultimately, every failure and mistake is an opportunity to learn, adapt, and emerge stronger, propelling us forward on our path toward our goals and dreams. Vulnerability is often described as the courage to expose our true selves, revealing our fears, hopes, and imperfections. Brené Brown, a leading researcher on vulnerability, courage, empathy, and shame, has shown how embracing vulnerability can lead to deeper connections and a more authentic life. However, while vulnerability can foster intimacy and trust, it's crucial to recognize that sharing our vulnerabilities must be approached with discernment. The power of boundaries in this context cannot be overstated. Understanding when and how to share our vulnerability is essential for maintaining healthy relationships and protecting our emotional well-being. The first step in determining when to share our vulnerability is understanding the concept of boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define what is acceptable and what is not in our relationships. They are essential for ensuring that we feel safe and respected in our interactions with others. Brené Brown emphasizes that healthy boundaries are fundamental to cultivating connections based on trust and mutual respect. By setting clear boundaries, we can navigate our relationships in a way that honors our own needs while also being considerate of others. When it comes to sharing vulnerability, one of the key factors to consider is the level of trust in the relationship. Vulnerability requires a safe space. It demands an environment where we feel accepted, understood, and supported. Not every relationship is equipped to handle our vulnerabilities, and that's perfectly okay. Before sharing something personal, it's essential to assess the trustworthiness of the person with whom we are sharing. Have they demonstrated empathy and understanding in the past? Have they respected your boundaries before? If the answer is no, it may be wise to hold back on sharing your deeper vulnerabilities. In addition to assessing trust, it's crucial to consider the context in which you're sharing your vulnerability. Different situations call for different levels of openness. For instance, sharing a vulnerability in a casual social setting may not be appropriate or well received. Context matters. It can greatly influence how our vulnerabilities are perceived and the potential impact they may have on our relationships. If you are in a group of acquaintances or in a professional setting, it may be more suitable to share lighter or less sensitive aspects of your experience, reserving deeper vulnerabilities for more intimate or supportive environments. Furthermore, being clear about your intentions when sharing vulnerability can help guide your decision-making process. Are you seeking validation, support, or connection, or are you simply wanting to express yourself without expecting anything in return? Understanding your motivations can help clarify what you share and with whom. If your intention is to foster a deeper connection, it might be worth considering how the other person has responded to vulnerability in the past. If they have shown empathy and support in other situations, it may be a good indication that they will be a safe recipient for your feelings. Another important consideration is the emotional state you find yourself in at the time of sharing. It's essential to be mindful of your emotional readiness to share vulnerability. If you're feeling particularly fragile or overwhelmed, it might not be the best time to open up. Sharing vulnerability can expose us to further emotional turmoil, especially if we're not in a stable place ourselves. Brené Brown emphasizes the importance of being in a grounded emotional state when we share our vulnerabilities. This doesn't mean we need to be perfectly okay, rather. It means that we should be in a position to articulate our feelings and needs effectively, allowing for a constructive conversation. Additionally, understanding the potential risks of sharing vulnerability is vital. Vulnerability inherently involves a degree of risk. There's always the possibility that we may not receive the response we hope for. This reality can be intimidating, but it's essential to recognize that not every person will handle our vulnerability with care. Some may react with judgment, dismissal, or even criticism, which can be deeply hurtful. Being aware of this risk doesn't mean we should shy away from vulnerability altogether. Instead, it means we should approach it with caution and a discerning mindset. As we navigate the decision to share vulnerability, it's also important to consider the dynamics of power in our relationships. In some cases, the power dynamics may influence how safe it feels to share our vulnerabilities. If there's a significant power imbalance, such as in professional relationships or relationships with authority figures, sharing personal vulnerabilities may lead to unwanted consequences. Understanding how power dynamics affect your relationships can help you determine whether sharing your vulnerabilities is appropriate or safe. While it's crucial to approach vulnerability with caution, it's equally important to recognize the immense value that sharing can bring. When we open up about our experiences, we allow others to see our authentic selves, creating opportunities for deeper connection and understanding. Vulnerability fosters empathy and compassion, both for ourselves and others. It creates a shared space where people can relate to one another on a more profound level, breaking down the walls of isolation and shame. When we share our struggles, we often find that others have experienced similar challenges, leading to a sense of camaraderie and mutual support. However, this doesn't mean we should indiscriminately share our vulnerabilities with anyone. Rather, it's about finding the right balance between openness and discretion. Trustworthy relationships are built on reciprocity. They thrive when both parties are willing to be vulnerable and supportive of one another. In these contexts, sharing our vulnerabilities can lead to healing and growth, helping us to form connections that are rich and fulfilling. Another aspect to consider is the importance of practicing self-compassion when navigating vulnerability. It's essential to approach our vulnerabilities with kindness and understanding, recognizing that we are all human and flawed. Brené Brown highlights the significance of self-compassion as a way to combat shame and fear associated with vulnerability. When we practice self-compassion, we create a safe internal space where we can explore our vulnerabilities without judgment. This internal safety can empower us to choose wisely when it comes to sharing our experiences with others. Furthermore, it's crucial to be aware that vulnerability is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. As we grow and evolve, our capacity for vulnerability may change, as well as the people we trust with our experiences. This fluidity means that we must continuously assess our boundaries and the dynamics of our relationships. What felt safe to share at one point may no longer feel appropriate later on. Staying attuned to our emotional landscape and the context of our relationships allows us to navigate vulnerability in a way that feels authentic and aligned with our needs. Ultimately, the power of boundaries and sharing vulnerability lies in the ability to protect ourselves while still cultivating meaningful connections. It is entirely possible to honor our own emotional needs while also being open to others. The key is to approach vulnerability with intentionality, recognizing that it is a powerful tool for connection when used wisely. By setting clear boundaries around our vulnerabilities, we empower ourselves to create relationships that are rooted in trust, empathy, and mutual respect. In conclusion, understanding when to share vulnerability is a nuanced process that involves recognizing the importance of boundaries, trust, context, emotional readiness, power dynamics, and the potential risks associated with openness. While vulnerability has the potential to foster deep connections and healing, it requires discernment and self-awareness. By practicing self-compassion and assessing the safety of our relationships, we can navigate vulnerability in a way that honors our emotional well-being while allowing for authentic connections. Embracing vulnerability doesn't mean throwing caution to the wind, rather, it's about finding the right balance that allows us to be true to ourselves while also fostering relationships that uplift and empower us.